think we're live. Lovely to see you all here today. Thank you for joining us. I hope everyone's well. Just going to make sure you can see us perfect. And if we can just get thumbs up, are being heard loud and clear. I think we can say that's good because I just had the replay from our own YouTube there. So, good day, Sister Bonnie. Good day, Alicia. We have a couple of questions that we were asked before the show just to get into. So we'll just jump straight to them and then we'll start talking about what we came to do. So first question was, any advice on laser tattoo removal? If it's done with rebounding, niacin and infrared sauna / coriander to get the toxins out. I think, a part of the process of your journey and having tattoos on your body and you're elevating to a state and you're looking to get clean and clear from any toxins within your body. One is mentally surrender these thoughts if there's any negativity going on. And if you choose to then continue to get these removed, I think, laser is predominantly a safe method to do so. It's not something that should be taken lightly, and I'd make sure you do enough research to feel comfortable with yourself doing so. And as I'm sure you're aware by asking the actual question yourself, there are heavy metals used in the inks, and there's a different metal used in each color. So obviously going on a slight detox to help the body purge these things would be very beneficial to yourself. And as we know, you mentioned coriander here. Coriander is known to remove heavy metals from the body, along with, periods of fasting. We don't want to extend fasting for too long, but just maybe a couple of days water fasting through the course of maybe 6 months. Maybe every month you could probably spend about 3 days water fasting, and that should be suffice. But the most important thing we want to address here is to not give any fixation on any negativity from previous things you've done to yourself, because the thoughts and the mind is essentially creating your reality. So remember the power that's within you and within your mind. Another question that we had was, if I'm looking to build muscle on fruit, how much fruit do I need to eat? And I think it's a very good question. Would you like to say anything on that first?
I just wanted to say, the choices that we make during our journey, excuse me, is not always, a bad thing. So as we spoke of last session, that we learn from these teachings. So, everything is perfect for where you are at the moment. So having a tattoo or something that you may feel like you regret from the past is actually one of our greatest teachings and what brings us to this point of our journey in the present moment. So we try not to fixate on regretting any of our choices, because they are what builds our foundation for our journey and our development as a being here and our evolution. So we always say to surrender those kind of feelings or thoughts that may arise at any particular moment, because actually at one point you really felt the vibration to go with your heart and have that make that choice. So don't feel like any guilt or regret. We just need to let those feelings or thoughts go.
And a question back to yourself is, when was the decision made, or when did the idea come to you about removing these things? Were you doing extensive research and you came across an article that said tattoos, were bad for you, and then you create another concept within your mind, and as this concept does begin to arise and manifest and expand, and there begins to be slight pressure from the mind itself to make a change with something, and if you feel fine as you are, and you're not feeling any negativity from it. Of course, ideally, we wouldn't want to put tattoos in our body, but this has been done as a practice for thousands of years, from indigenous tribes to modern day man. The only difference is that the ink that we use commercially is, of course, a commercial product, which is done for efficacy of profits rather than for human health. So, I mean, just don't give too much focus on it and go with the flow. You have to go through the experience yourself of obviously getting these things done. And as Sister Bonnie pointed out, it does take many sit-ins to get these lasered off of your body. But the laser itself, I don't think, has any lasting harmful effects. So the choice is really within you. But just continue to surrender the mind during that process. And as for, food and trying to build muscle, it's quite an important thing to bring to light, because trying to achieve a physique on a fruit-based diet only is not necessarily the easiest thing to do, because it's so easily assimilated within the body, and you don't have, most people don't really have the abundance of fruit that is possible when you're living in harmony with the earth. And you have to over-consume food in such a way that you are giving a surplus from the calorie needs, and it needs to be maintained consistently. You cannot really skip a meal. For instance, for me, I'm probably consuming about 5,500 to 6,000 calories a day, if you want to put it in calories, and I'm eating maybe 8 times a day, I would say. And I eat the moment I open my eyes, I'm consuming food. So whether I wake up in the middle of the night, I will use that as an opportunity to eat food at this time, because I'm trying to create a physique or build a body just to show what can be done on a whole food diet. The moment I am going to sleep, I'm eating just before I go to bed. And usually it'll be 5 or 6 bananas that I will have before I sleep, and I will keep another 5 or 6 bananas as I rise. And then through the day, I'm consistently eating, maybe 1,000 calorie meals or just under.
We would suggest more towards cooked food if you're living in places like the UK, because you just can't get the amount of calories in from just raw food alone, and it makes you very bloated if you try to eat the amount of calories in one sitting. So it would be more beneficial to have a little bit more calorie dense food, and add in a little bit of the starches just gradually, because they do help if you're trying to increase muscle or mass.
It's for the experience, really, like if you want to experience what it's like to be on fruit only, you should try and body build at the same time to try and increase the mass. I mean, it's definitely possible. You look at a coconut, there's 1,000 calories in a coconut. You talk about 6, 7 good sized bananas, you're talking 900 to 1,000 calories there. If you consume honey, just I think maybe 300 grams of honey is around about 1,000 calories.
And you can get the same from maple syrup as well, because that's
I think it's a little bit less in the calories, but for instance, when you're looking to create muscle, I mean, the greatest time that you can utilize would be during your training session. So instead of having these pre-workout drinks, taking glucose or any type of commercial product or even synthesized product, you can use honey as that. So you could put this in a bit of water, and then you could usually maybe say 150 grams of honey you can put in your training drink, which is going to continue to replenish your glycogen stores as you're training, but also it's a natural product.
But you use maple syrup as well, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, I have used, but I just prefer the natural things.
Yeah.
I know maple syrup is a natural product, but it still goes through a process of distillation, and I just sit better with the honey itself. Of course, if people have concepts and their idea is to be vegan and to stop animal products, then it's not going to be right for you. But there is a very fine art to growing the body and muscle tissue, and it's not an easy process. You really have to stimulate hypertrophy. You have to train very, very extreme. You have to break the boundaries of failure. And you have to be so consistent. You have to be very consistent with your training and extremely consistent with your meals.
And very patient as well, because it does not happen overnight. Josh and I have been training since we were very young. So we have, that foundation level, that base level of, muscle memory. So, training just for, 6 to 8 months, you progress, but it's a slow build. And I know a lot of things are like fast food, take this pill and you do this and that, but it's really about patience, consistency, and just showing up each time for your training sessions and be consistent with your food, and these results will come.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, as you become more an expert or intermediate within the gym, in your first year, you might not necessarily have this great muscle-mind connection, understanding the body, the motions, and how to squeeze and really feel the muscles that you're working. But as you develop this sense, it's called a muscle-mind connection, your training will improve. And then over time, it's literally about stimulating and feeding, recovering, repairing. So when you're training, you don't want to overtrain because this is negative to your progress. You just want to make sure you hit that hypertrophy, stimulate the muscle, and you rest it. And just for example, I would train each muscle or each muscle part once a week, and that's it. I tend to train my calves twice a week, just to try and bring up a weaker part of my body, but that's really it. And that's enough.
On the Flex Fitness course, we have like beginners, intermediate, and advanced levels. So again, there's programs for different, levels of training.
Yeah, beginners is going to be so different than somebody who's intermediate, and the intermediate program is going to be different than somebody who is expert and advanced. Sister Yvonne said, is date syrup good? So I think date syrup is called date molasses, and it would be absolutely fine. It's not going to be negative for you. But as we were going back to food quickly, I think instead of just trying to do something because you have a concept that you want to stay fixated to this, use it as an experience. Build a great knowing within yourself. Know what it's like to be on fruit only. Feel that very experience of what it's like to be light, fluffy, very clean, lots of repair going on.
Lots of energy.
Yeah.
And the mind as well is very sharp, because obviously the fruit's easy to assimilate in the body, so you don't have all of that energy going to the stomach to try and break down all of the food and that acidic process. So the brain is just very sharp, very quick, very alert. The rest is less on fruit.
And the brain's fuel is essentially what fruit is. It's the source of its fuel. So it's continually being fueled, and it has a readily available source, so it's functioning properly.
So there's different types of training. When you're trying to build muscle, you have to have a lot of fuel for the body. So it's like a constant flow of fuel. But, if you're training specifically for, something that involves a lot of energy, like fitness side, rather than the muscle building, you can, you have abundance of glucose from the fruit. So that would be an ideal time to go on to the fruit. So if you were focusing more on the cardiovascular systems, which we do recommend a bit of both, even if you are trying to build muscle, it's really important to know that actually the superficial muscles are the ones that are visible, but we have a lot of muscles and organs in the body that need work as well. So the cardiovascular system is very important to work alongside of the muscular system. And
a great way to bring that together, if you don't have time to do any type of cardio, because sometimes high intense cardio can actually be a negative to somebody who's trying to promote muscle growth, because when you're going to intense cardiovascular systems, you use glycogen stores in the muscle tissues, which will deplete very fast. And then it's obviously negative for this process. But for me, I train very intense, probably for a short period of time, from somebody who may be training like a different type of style. About 45 minutes, very intense. My rest rate is probably 45 seconds and straight on to the next one. So I keep it very high. So my heart rate is in the cardio, very low end of it, but I'm experiencing extra fitness during that process as well.
And what we need to remember is that the metabolic rate increases the more lean muscle mass you have on the body. So your body is like a furnace. It's burning constantly when you're at rest. When you're not even doing anything, you could be sat down and you're just burning calories because of the amount of lean muscle mass you have on your body. So we need to feed that very often. So we need to look at the body type as well as the goals that you're trying to achieve.
Yeah, because it is high maintenance. To keep muscle tissue a certain size, you have to maintain it. Even at rest rate, like Misha was saying, just to sit down, you're burning a lot more calories than somebody would. So if you're looking for that for a goal, even to experience what it's like, then you have to adjust yourself. I remember going to this fruit space. You have to let go of that concept sometimes, not keep yourself so rigid and fixated to a certain food group. But we're not denying that fruit is the optimum source of fuel, because it is. But we live in a world right now that isn't, it's absolutely perfect, but it isn't aligned with sometimes our beliefs, trying or striving for the mind's concept of what is perfection.
But also the food that is grown, even the whole foods are grown with the very minimum amount of vitamins and minerals in. So, what the food quality used to be like is very much diminished at the moment. So if we're getting our food from the supermarkets, markets, grown from farmers that don't use the correct soil, is very unlikely that we're getting the full source of vitamins and minerals that we should, or we think maybe in those foods.
When you're training very high intensity, you go to your fruit, even your juices. When I'm training, I will take the grape juices as well to the gym. Grape juice is very high in glucose naturally, and it's going to replenish my stores, which keeps me optimal. And then of course I'm in a state where I'm anabolic, which is grow muscle, and using fat as energy as well at the same time.
And hydration is super key to keep the body working at its optimum. So, if we're slightly dehydrated through training, because our sweat, even at night time, we're sweating, we need to make sure that the body's hydrated properly. And that's where a lot of beings that are on the standard Western diet will fall down, because they feel like they're hungry, but in actual fact, they're thirsty, dehydrated. So we need to make sure that we're getting that adequate amount of hydration for training. Things like stimulants, coffee, and all that kind of stuff, they dehydrate the body. So if we are having those kind of stimulants constantly, we need to again make sure that the body is hydrated adequately.
Yeah. And I think most of us have experienced it through our upbringing, our mums and dads or family members and friends. It would be have a Mars bar before you do some exercise, before you play your sport.
Lucozade.
Have a Lucozade. So instead of Lucozade, we recommend grape juice or orange juice or some sort of fruit juice, maybe a coconut water. And then if you're looking for something to eat, have a piece of fruit or several pieces of fruit. This is going to serve you so much better than this poor quality so-called food product.
Fizzy pop. Sister Bonnie mentioned about the plant-based protein powders. Are they good for building muscle?
I mean, I still don't agree that protein builds muscle. I still think it's the protein synthesis that has been missing. It's the creation of protein synthesis through consuming your glucose and the amino acids in your food. If you tip out a protein powder on your hand, you have this much powder, and it's a dead food. You mix it with this much water, and it may taste nice because they've added in some sweeteners or some flavorings. It may taste bad because they haven't. But for me, it's not something that I would use. I'm 5'11" and a quarter, maybe just over, and I weigh about 220 pounds, maybe just over that, and I do not take any protein powder or anything like that. I think there's nothing more important than eating real food, which I know that you do. And I think for you to know this yourself, the experiment has got to take place. You have to walk through this path. So try it for 6 months, try it for 3 months, and try it without it. See if you feel any different. But for me, in my experience, even when I was younger, not for me. All I do is observe people, and I notice that most people have very bad digestive issues. They tend to have really bad gas and runs, diarrhea, etc. when they consume these products. So we are looking for protein synthesis. Our muscles are made of protein, but they have been synthesized from amino acids and glucose. which is something very important to note. So I focus on carbohydrates, and I don't focus on the protein at all. Which leads us to the next question in the comments. What's your feeling on the proper diet to beat cancer? Do you believe in all kinds of sugar feed cancer? I definitely don't believe in all kinds of sugar. I think sugar itself is its own verb, its own word, or its own noun, you could say. And it is a processed form of sugarcane that is not natural to our bodies. It's not recognized. It's a dead food. Thus, it needs something called candida to break it down in the body. And essentially, candida is primarily the seat of all disease. It feeds on acid. When we have an acid body, we have issues. If we continue to eat food that's aligned with, let's say, a neutrality, maybe slightly alkaline, then our bodies are aligned and free from disease. If someone's trying to heal cancer, there's many different ways of trying. First of all, is stay relaxed, don't panic, and don't let the fear from the medical industry. I'll be careful what I say, because a lot of our videos have been taken off that had important information on them, like this. So I would just recommend there's probably 3 of different types of ways you could do it. And first of all, start with the food evolution. So no matter what you were consuming previously, just take yourself to the next level. We're not trying to over eradicate things from our body too quickly, because we can stagnate the lymphatic system, and thus we can't eliminate things from our body properly. So if you're eating a whole food diet, then yes, definitely go to a raw diet with intermittent fasting. This is one way to continually evolve your diet until you find the remedy. Another way of doing it is through fasting. Now, 2 types of fasting. Obviously, people do fruit juice fasting and have experienced healing from many diseases. And sometimes people haven't. And this is where you would go into ketosis. You would essentially eliminate all types of sugar from your diet. Your body would switch on its fuel system, and you would be in ketosis. This is autophagy, where the body is self-cleaning. So it's essentially removing defunct cells and replacing them. And you could do this with water, or you could do it with very, very low sugar fruits or foods. And for instance, you could use cucumbers and celery juice, and you could exist solely on this for 3 days, 7 days, 21 days, and you could cycle this. And then as you're refeeding yourself, as long as you know how to refeed yourself properly, then you can do this intermittently through a healthy diet, which is more than likely going to bring remedy to 99% of ailments. And there's also, medicines along the way. And cannabis is one of them, which has a lot of history and a lot of evidence that it helps reduce tumors and bring homeostasis back to the body from things such as cancer. So just take a look, experiment, but one thing is not to panic.
With regards to how cancer or any viruses, anything can survive, it has to be in an acidic environment. So if we can create the opposite from that, then nothing can survive here. So when we have those negative thoughts or those fears come up,
all acidic,
everything like that is acidic to the body. So no matter how good or clean or how much we're in ketosis, we will not cure that with the negative feelings and thoughts that we're conjuring up inside. So it has to be a mind, body and soul connection. We have to do it from all angles, otherwise none of these puzzle pieces will fit. So if we're matching that energy of balance throughout the whole body, mind and soul, then we will create that environment where cancer, viruses, illness, disease cannot survive. But it has to be from all angles. So we can't just be like, oh, I'll pick that one because that seems the easiest option for me. It has to be a holistic approach. And this is why we teach that holistic walking through this journey approach to everything, because it's not just about one component will make it better. It's about everything in harmony, in that unison and that homeostasis vibration through the whole body.
Recognizing that as well is going to bring you to this state. Does it serve you to think negative about something like cancer and just sit there and worry and fear your death, etc.? You just creating these negative thought patterns, releasing negative emotions, blocking your energy centers, and thus creating an acidic environment, which is a perfect place for disease to manifest. So transcendental aspects of your experience need to happen. You need to let go of these things. You need to truly recognize, and we've left a lot of work. Many of your Q&As, most of them, they all go through great tools that you can do to bring yourself remedy or enlightenment or freedom, liberation from such concepts. Because essentially spirituality itself is not about creating new concepts. It's not about doing ideals that have been seen, copied, trying to replicate, because the appearance of spirituality is there. There's no act that is going to bring you closer to yourself or spirituality. It's about going inward and recognizing yourself. And this is where the great slogan, know thyself, and it's been around since ancient Greek. It's very important. You know nothing unless you know yourself.
And it's the great work of, the internal environment. Everything external will become right or righteous if the internal environment is aligned. So it seems very simple when you speak of it, but to actually go in and do that work, the great work of knowing thyself is a nice journey, a big journey.
It's a big one, and it takes someone very brave, very dedicated to the truth, and that dedication or that will drive will lead you there. But what we're not looking to do is create new concepts, shift a different personality, create a new person. We're looking to understand what the person is, the functions of the intellect and the ego, bring a great understanding to it. Know the separation between yourself and this functionality within you. Accept what it is, accept what it does. Choose to think, but don't let thinking happen autonomously. It's about really gaining control of yourself here in a non-reactive state, responding to life, and in perpetual happiness and joy. And along the way, mastering all of these things that are there for you to master, like the art of manifestation, the art of learning your world, learning the energy behind it.
Magic.
The true magic that exists for everyone. But living through the eyes of a person, this phenomenal reality is not perceived to be magic at all. And all of this has come from nothing. And everything that you experience is from within, and there is nothing external to you. I've said it many times, and I think it's a perfect way to determine what truly is. It's you are not in the world. The world is in you. And if you can truly grasp this, you will see the truth. You will wake up every day with immense gratitude for every form, every living being, the relationships in your life, the food that you consume, the breath that you breathe. Recognizing that there is no death. Death is but a concept that exists in the minds of persons. You are consciousness itself. Before we move on from this, I just wanted to pick up, in case many people, look for acid, alkaline charts on the internet, see certain grains are alkaline, etc. This isn't the case. We're not looking at foods which are alkaline by nature or acid by nature. It's the way that the body breaks things down which causes acidity.
It's the assimilation of the food. So if you look at the lemon, how acidic that will be on the chart, it is right up there with the most acidic. It'd be bright red on the sheet, and then you ingest that, and it's the most alkalizing food that you can have.
But how? Because the body recognizes it. The assimilation of it is easy. There is no process that has to be breaking this food down. This is what's acidic forming to the body. This is what depletes your bones of essential minerals like calcium, etc.
And this is also where all of your energy goes. Breaking down the food, the digestion process will take all the blood that it needs to help digest food. And therefore, where is the healing coming from? If we're in a disease state and all of the blood is rushing to the tummy to digest all this food, therefore our nutrients aren't going to where they should be going to help healing, which is why fasting is so good, because the tummy is resting, the digestive system is resting. Therefore, there's no blood rush into that area, so therefore we can heal easier. It's a very simple concept, but
it's hard to grasp because of seeking information.
And the information that's out there is very misleading unless you know the ultimate truth of it and how it's assimilated in the body.
Because you try to find on the internet just about what we spoke about earlier on about protein and how the body doesn't actually need it, and how the body creates protein synthesis through these types of systems. You'll never find anyone. Everyone still needs to consume protein. It's very, very rare that this will be recognized, because it's just hearsay and untruths being spread, as the Bible says. Be careful of those which spread hearsay and untruths. This is one of the internet's downfalls, but it's also, a blessing and a curse within its own space. It's a vast space of information. I mean, it's brought so many things to light. It's allowed an evolution within mankind, a rapid evolution. But we're searching for things which need to be found within.
What we do need to be aware of, though, is the fact that vitamins, minerals can be depleted. It's very, very good to get blood checked if you're unsure, so that we know areas that we need to look at or need to have a little bit of attention. So, B12, D3, iodine, things like that on a plant-based diet, you can deplete these stores.
You can fall short, and not everyone's eating food from different soils. Some people are eating organic, some people aren't. But it's just very good on this journey to just make sure you have a relationship and knowledge with yourself about how your blood work is through certain foods. And these minerals are very important.
And the concept of let's not use the medical system for anything because we're very spiritual is another way to put yourself into a box or a predicament within the mind. The mind saying, "Oh, we can't do that because the pharmacy and medications that people are on." It's a completely different side of things that we're looking at here. It's that the internal health that we can't physically see needs to sometimes be addressed, and the fact that you have fear around going to the doctors or the hospitals, wherever you are, is another box that we can be in that is very hard to get out of.
It's another concept that we can also let go of, and we can become free and realize that everything is perfect. Everything that is here right now is for us to use by choice or not to use. And along this process, the most important thing that we can do is to maintain balance. Let go of friction. Let go of these concepts that cause stress, suffering. No one can suffer without a thought process. Even pain is felt, but it's not suffering. You suffer through thoughts and intellect.
If we look at the deeper meaning of pain, it's a teaching. It's like, okay, we won't touch that because it's hot and I feel pain. If we didn't have that pain, then we'd touch it and we'd get burned and then we'd eventually pass away. So pain is very good. It's an actual learning and a teaching that we need to, be careful around certain things. Or, if we got cut and we didn't know and there wasn't pain there, we wouldn't pay attention to that and we wouldn't see to it. So the pain is there for a reason and for a teaching. So when we look at any form of pain or hurt or upset, even though it's hard for us to deal with emotionally, physically, it's an actual an amazing teacher for us, and it's for us.
It's magnified, or it's magnified in your senses. It's magnificence. What we need to do is learn to let go. We're trying to hold on and change things, but the idea is to let go, to remove all concepts from us. This is the immaculate conception that was spoken about in the Bible that Christ was. This is not shared. This has not been brought to light. We bring this to light. Immaculate conception means to be clean and clear from any concepts, devoid of all concepts. Then you're free. Because the mind itself is continually throwing out concepts which are then seen and identified with, or not seen and identified with. Thus you're becoming this person, and everything is happening to you, and you live in a space of suffering. And the ego itself is relaying reality to you just a split second after it happens, and then this is being observed. So you're missing the moment. This moment is the magic. And here in this moment, there is no reactivity. There is no mind continually relaying reality to you. You're free. You're enlightened. You do not have the weight of the world, the weight of the mind holding you down. You don't have to get angry because someone said something that your person doesn't like. They can say what they like. You understand that everyone has a will, and you cannot change that will. And that will is very special. So we learn to let go. And when that person has been let go of, there's just perpetual happiness and bliss. I just wanted to mention here, sorry, did you have something you wanted to say?
I know, I was going to get back to a question, but you carry on with that.
I just wrote collagen down here because I seen a question from Sister Joe. What are your thoughts on sources of nutrition for collagen? None. I think the body produces collagen. It just needs to synthesize it itself. There's lots of concepts out there that arise, like shark collagen helps the body produce or build collagen itself, and this is a myth. If you look at a lot of these meat eaters or carnivores or people that promote meat a lot, they say these essential nutrients that you can only find in meat products. Through their ignorance, they don't realize that every single thing that they're mentioning is actually created in the body. And you don't need to have these things, because it's those things which called acidity to the body, which then need to be broken down, and then your body will synthesize the leftover amino acids into a sequence, recode the body for what it needs to be. I hope that helps.
I was just going to ask about, so I've been trying to eat less lectins, but in finding out some vegetables are high in it. Any suggestions? Corn, rice, etc. cause me to gain weight. Finding some nuts aren't even nuts.
That's nuts. Yeah, I mean, you'll go through this whole process. You continue to search your truth or just experience food for yourself, eliminating things down to this purest state of fruit, then reintroducing them into your body. You'll find out which is highest vibration and then to the least vibration. But yes, I mean, the real food itself contains a seed. It's not a seed itself. But I wouldn't want to limit you through any type of recommendation to not eat seeds, to not eat any of these things that you mentioned.
They are higher calorie foods, so this will...
And high calorie foods need to be broken down more than lower calorie foods, because they're easily assimilated. So dense things like nuts, etc., tend to be higher in calories because of the process to break it down.
So they will help you gain weight if that's what your focus is. But if you're gaining additional weight from eating that you don't wish, then this is from the higher calorie foods like the nuts and seeds and legumes, potatoes, starches.
But you do better when you remove them more by soaking them, by cooking them, etc. So when you consume vegetables, don't recommend to eat them raw. They're very bloating. What are these things that you're saying? To steam them is going to be your best bet. Don't limit yourself. You're in a world of abundance, but also a limit on the selection you may have in the areas that you live. So don't limit yourself. Eat as much diverse foods as you can. Just surrender the mind. I mean, there's so much concepts out there. that we can really give too much attention to, too much focus, and not know what to do. Our actions don't meet our expectations, and we suffer because of this. Just be clean and clear, experience things yourself, eat what makes you feel good. If it doesn't make you feel good, don't eat it, reduce it. You know, you have to be intuitive through your eating and through your life to truly know. But yes, every food, apart from fruit, has these anti-nutrients in them. And this suggests that fruit should be our food.
Thy medicine.
Yes.
Let thy food be thy medicine. We've got a question here about potentially adding in some cooked foods to build muscle. What do you recommend? What types of cooked food?
I mean, if you're looking for higher calorie foods, then vegetables I would always recommend to cook them anyway. But this is specifically for gaining weight.
Building muscle, yeah.
What we're looking to do is to have things break down a little bit slower in our body than fruit itself. Especially when you go into sleep at night, you have 7, 8 hours, maybe 9 for some people, maybe 6 for others, where your body kind of needs fueling if you're looking to grow your muscle tissue. So to have something that breaks down slower, like your potatoes, sweet potatoes, your white rice, then it's going to be fine. But I wouldn't recommend doing it from a food-based diet. You have to really slowly introduce these foods back into your lifestyle and then experience them. So let go of a concept that you have to be a certain way. Have an experience and experience what it was like for the growth of your muscle, how you feel within yourself on these certain food groups. But I recommend eating every 2 to 3 hours while you are awake. And of course, this isn't optimal for longevity. This is just an experience. Because when you reach a certain level of evolution within yourself, you're kind of unbound to things that are tied to the body. Things are just experience. So if you want to experience what it's like, then you just got to do so. And also doing that process when your head is filled with new concepts towards this lifestyle, it's great to be able to let them go and challenge yourself. Otherwise, you just create new boxes, which is what we were speaking of earlier. And those boxes can trap you. So just be fluid, be like water, allow yourself to be malleable into whatever you choose or have a will to experience. Because if you don't align yourself with your will and then go forth to experience it, there's going to be a manifestation of some sort of regret. That regret creates suffering.
Causes a lot of imbalances throughout the body's energetic systems as well. So, just walk the truth, your truth, and, your will.
Yeah, and you can look to others who you see as maybe a little bit ahead of you in the journey. Take what you want, but never go against your own will. This is very important. You have too many questions if you don't. You'll live in the mind, and then you'll find it very difficult to get out of it unless you just let go. It's actually growth. Even though it seems physically it might not be growth, it's the spiritual expansion, letting go of these new concepts that's been built, whether they're new or you might have had them for 10, 15 years or your whole life. It's great just to let things go.
So we have another question from Gina. What would be the best exercise to do for a 63-year-old woman? Where would I start and how many reps would I do? Thank you. So I've just had an 87-year-old beautiful being come and do a one-to-one Zoom meeting with me, and it's never too late to start anything new. So, it's very individual as well. So we offer one-to-one training programs, consultations.
Really on anything, on your own journey, anything that you may have questions about, anything you're trying to expand beyond.
It's very difficult we have the Flex Fitness course that is available for beginners, intermediate and advanced. That's all on our website. But if you want something specifically and individual to you, tailor-made, then we can have a Zoom meeting and then we can go forward with the exercises, and we prepare a whole training program specifically tailor-made for you. So that's something else that we offer.
You also do a lot of posture with people, and I think it's one of those undervalued things, posture. And as I'm sat like this, it's very important that you recognize the posture, because once you have a perfect posture within the word, it's post you are, after you are. The way you stand is the way that you will progress into. And a lot of injuries, a lot of pain, a lot of suffering, sciatica, all these issues, they're about posture. So just having an understanding of how to correct these things, which I'd say Michelle is a very great specialist in, you just alleviate so much pain and suffering physically from your life. And essentially, that's what we're here to do. We're here to point the way, to be able to guide, shed some light, but alleviate your suffering, whether it's mental, physical, or spiritual, and bring you to a space that you really are free and liberated.
Yeah, many of you that are here with us tonight have had some exercises and posture exercises given to you. So yes, it's a really important part of the journey as well. Again, it's just all alignment and balance, isn't it? So we're just looking for that balance in all aspects, not like we said, the holistic package of what we can achieve for homeostasis. So everything that we do, you can find us on the website xfamilyunity.com, xfamilyunity on Instagram, or you can email us at xfamunity. I'll put the link in the show notes. Consultations.gmail or at gmail.com. It'll be there for you. You can find us there. And we're ready to help you, ready to help anyone who wants to help themselves. Yeah. So
do we have any other questions?
Yes.
Before we go to the next question, it was just with food and things like that. Our little ex has had his a birthday recently. And it's just so amazing. You know, the path that we chose, we hadn't seen it outlaid by anyone else. It was something that we chose to do ourselves and walk this path. And the experience that we had has been absolutely incredible. You know, homeschooling him, we had many questions. You know, obviously, first the basic questions is, if you're not going to feed him sugar, how will he have a happy life?
Yeah, we some beings have said, "Oh, you're depriving him of chocolate. He would never taste chocolate. He's never had chocolate or sweets or crisps."
He doesn't want them. He'll smell them and say they're disgusting. He smells bread, says it's disgusting. But as a good fact for everyone to know is that he had a little party with his friends, his homeschool friends, a couple of days ago, and Sister Michelle made some lovely treats, and she took them to where they were. All the children, the mums and dads, and this lady also had a child with a birthday that was very close, so they'd done it together. She brought this caterpillar chocolate cake that nobody touched.
Everyone wanted the plant-based
all the kids, you know, they wanted these simple ingredients that you use.
Yeah.
You know, Michelle has this great art of making cakes. And we've been blessed with a lovely juicer that we can juice coconut, and this gives coconut cream, and that cream is a very special thing when you're making cake.
You know, everyone has a concept that children aren't going to like it because it's different, and do you know what? All of the children came up to us both and after and said, "Oh, please, can you write down the recipe for us? We'd love to make some at home." And all the little children were coming around us, like crowding around, saying, "Oh, can I have another one?" And, you know, really enjoying the moment with us, and like asking what ingredients were in there, and ticking off a little chart that they have, how many plants they eat in one day. And
there was this one boy that was, I think he's celiac, he was allergic to a lot of things. And his mum said, "You can have one of these." And he was very shocked.
And his little face lit up, and it was just like amazing to see how like connected the children were to like speaking about what plants went into making it and the process, because when they buy it from the shop, it's just like a dead, you know, entity.
It is crazy how much ingredients there are.
Yeah, and in the cake that I made was 3 ingredients, and that was the coconut, dates, and the carob powder. to make the chocolate balls, and like a frosting on top. And it's just amazing to see the connection and, you know, really enjoying it and wanting to come back for more because it wasn't making them feel sick, you know.
And to live this lifestyle, the virtues have to be in practice. You have to be very, very diligent. You know, it's too easy to open up a packet. It's too easy, you know, to put something in the oven, put something in the microwave, to not make things from scratch, but something which we do, something which we chose to do from the very beginning. And I feel like we've been blessed and rewarded with these practices. You know, we have a perfect, healthy, happy, full of energy, incredible, kind little soul. And, you know, no TV, no school, no processed foods, only whole foods, predominantly fruit. And, you know, we are his guides. We spend mostly every moment together. And as far as his learning, his abilities, you know, to communicate with him is very much adult-like, because he has so much verbs, so much verbatim going on. He has, you know, he's just been communicating with us for such a long period of time. You know, I rarely see other children because Michelle takes him to the homeschool. But when I do, you know, sometimes I'm speaking to children at like 10, 11, 12, and, you know, he speaks so much better than these kids. And he's so much younger.
But it's the interaction, you know, a lot of children, they get dismissed a lot by the adults because of the time or, you know, the patience that's involved with it, or the actual present moment, being with them in the present moment. You know, the distractions of the phone and the work life and the home life. But in actual fact, if you take a step back and just breathe and let them work with you, you know, it's easy to get, you know, the young stars to come and enjoy that moment with you, even if you have got to do the washing or the cooking. They love getting
Slow
involved.
down, let them be with you.
They love it.
The mind will say it needs to be done now, but it doesn't. And that child will enjoy doing what adults do. That should have a perfect little helper.
And we have a question kind of based around this, and saying, I have zero free time. I work 12 hours, 6 days a week at the post office because Americans can't stop spending money. I never see my wife and kids because this is the world Christians made. So, yeah, when you work long hours and you have to, you know, spend your time away from your family, again, this is, you know, a teaching for us, as, you know, with the presence that we can spend with them after, you know, the long day at work, or on the weekends when you do have your time off. It's, you know, you have so much gratitude for that, because you can be, you know, with them, and you can, you know, fully have your attention with them.
But focus on the positive. Never focus on these negative things, because these negative things create a negative vibration, a negative mindset, negative experiences. When you count your blessings and you wake up and you go to work because you could not have a job and you could be on the streets, all these things that the mind doesn't look at. When you align yourself with this perception, you have gratitude. Gratitude is one of the quickest ways to enlighten. To recognize that vibration is the experiences which you do experience. When you have this outlook on life, suddenly a manifestation, someone will come to you with an opportunity that is far greater than you. You'll be working 1 day a week, you'll be able to see your children and your wife all the time, and you'll be getting paid more. Just have that, you know,
that inner knowing as well, that that's going to happen.
Yeah, you have to have a slight training, I would say, understanding of your imaging faculty, your imagination. It's incredible. When you understand your imaging or your imagination, you can create a scenario, you can image it, you can project it, you feel as if it's happened. You don't waver a thought off of this. You keep focus on this, and you watch how fast manifestations or things change to your will and the power of it very quickly. I can't express it enough. You know, one of the most important things as a temple builder that you can do is actually learn the art of this manifestation. Recognize consciousness itself and how things are. The Bible has great teachings such as this. You reap what you sow. It's not necessarily about planting a seed in the garden to acquire the fruit. It's planting a seed within yourself to acquire the experience. You just need to have this faith, which is trust, and knowing that it's going to happen. And it will, I can assure you.
So Sister Bonnie mentioned about the skin tightening on fasting. So
only water fasting.
Yeah.
The science is there for water fasting, isn't it? But it's not with juice fasting. So if somebody's looking to crash diet without, having excess skin, then the simplest way to do it is to water fast. But then you have to open up the book on water fasting on our website and see that, it's not something that's just can't be done simply.
Pre and post fasting are probably more important than the actual fast itself. So preparing for the fast, and then after the fast, breaking the fast correctly to rebuild the gut microbiome after fasting is super important. So yes, spread the word, but at the same time just make sure that beings that are taking that journey are aware of pre and post protocols. That we have a list on our website of how to do it correctly and safely.
And also Q&As every other Sunday. Make sure you come to them, ask your questions.
So we'll be having one this Sunday as well. So you're all welcome to join.
There was just a question here that followed on just a little bit earlier that we missed. Do you think everything is more mind over matter? The universe was created from mind. It is only mind. Mind creates the matter itself. So recognizing this and having an experience of your own personal science, you will come to recognize this yourself. I think one of the most simplest ways to begin the journey is the fruition board, isn't it?
We started with that, didn't we, very early?
You just write 10 things down that you are looking to do, to create, to bring to you, and every day look at it. This imprints the subconscious. This creates the experience, and then you'll realize that barely any time has passed and everything you wrote on this board has come to life.
It creates like a pathway almost to the ultimate goals. And also with like vision boards and things like that, we did a board where we wrote lots of lovely words on there, didn't we? And it was just lovely to have around the home, just that feeling of like warmth and embrace and love and friendship around, isn't it? So writing these things down just for a quick glimpse of it, it just imprints that again and again into the unconscious, subconscious.
Just even like life is beautiful, or just focus on the positivity, leave the negativity. These things here just really help train your new personality deep within the subconscious to create a different outlook and perception. And of course, the way that the mind perceives is your perception. But this comes to the Matrix, and Neo's trying to bend the spoon, and the young boy says to him that first you have to realize that there is no spoon, because this has all come from mind. This is but a wonderful dream of consciousness itself expressing dynamic experiences. And this is probably not the time to go very deep into it, but this is the case. Everything is mind, all is mind. It's not the ego's mind or the intellect. This is a micro mind, but the macro mind, the creator of all. Consciousness itself. Do we have any more questions here, my dear?
Yeah, there was a couple down.
I have a few friends that have had children who want to lose weight. Okay. Whole food first. Make sure they're not consuming processed foods, and they'll probably find that everything they have been looking for will just naturally happen. Water fasting. How many days of water fasting? Start with 1. Hold no concept or any idea to a certain amount of time that you're going to do water fasting for. Be very intuitive and listen to yourself. The more you fast, the more you attune, you build like this fasting muscle, and then it becomes easier with time. So don't rush into anything. Take your time, fully understand it. Take advice, but don't live by advice. Live by your intuitive nature. You have an inner tutor, and it's very, very real.
Yeah, so when the children taste the sugar, or they're just feeding that, it gives them that initial peak of like hyperactivity, high stimulation, and then it gives them
Then they
a
get
huge
told
crash
off.
after. And what our body, mind and soul wants to be is a very balanced state. It doesn't like all these peaks and drops. So trying to keep that level at a nice balance is very difficult when we spike the sugar and spike the insulin, and then we have a huge crash again at the end. So, and the same with any stimulant as well, like caffeine, nicotine, alcohol, anything like that, you have a huge downward spiral once you have that high. And it's very difficult for beings that are on that train constantly like this. It's very exhausting. The body loves to be at a homeostasis level, and then when we take it out of that balance, it's just like chaos.
It's like Robin Hood, Robin from one area to try to bring balance is usually
sure. And then again we get the depression that kicks in after, once you have a coffee or alcohol, you feel very high for an hour or two, and then you either need another one to pick you back up on that train, or you have the crash. And it's like,
it's just not needed.
A very difficult train to get off of if you're right in there, so trying to make those small changes with the outlook, exercise, which is why Josh and I promote a healthy physical aspect of life as well, is because it releases those endorphins that make you feel good. Dolphins. And they're the feel good factor, so you can replace some of these boosts of caffeine or nicotine or alcohol with exercise, and it really does work, and it's just a much better, healthier way to get your fix.
Especially as you get older, isn't it? Because one of the things that most people lose is bone density and strength as they get older. And the best way to bring bone density and bring strong bones is through physical exercise,
especially weight-bearing exercise. Especially with women as well, the female is so important because of osteoporosis. So weightlifting for everyone is a must, definitely, as we get older. And I start clients as old as 80, between 80 and 90. Is you're never too old to start. So start today. If you're not weightlifting or weight-bearing exercises, then it needs to happen very soon.
Yeah, definitely. So most people say, I don't want to get massive, I don't want to get too big, I don't want to look like a man. You've been training 50 years, I think.
About that. A very long time, and I train weights 5 to 6 days a week, heavy weights, individual muscle groups, and it's just it's very difficult to put on muscle, and I'm lifting heavy weights.
The women that you see that look like men are taking anabolic steroids, for sure. It's not something that the female body can really do. If someone is very, very short, like under 5 foot, it looks like they're more rounded muscle bellies, etc.
But even then, it's very difficult to build hard muscle for women. So,
and for men as well. I mean, it's not something that happens overnight. So, give yourself intensity. Try it for a period of time. Learn your body. Learn how to manipulate size, to lose weight, to lose fat. Build muscle, lose muscle.
Camera angles.
Get your Instagram posts up. There was a question about someone's injury earlier on, Michelle, and I thought you might be able to answer that for them before we finish it. I think Morgan, I've got a torn meniscus in my right knee. It's getting worse. Firstly, if it's getting worse, are you giving it ample time to rest? And are you taking any exercise or physical exercise that's bringing a repetitive strain to this area? You know, that's one of the most important things. And I know if you're into physical exercise, it's not very nice to rest, but it is very, very, very important to do so.
And the proper support and rehabilitation program is really important because, you know, things that aggravate it will, you know, you'll constantly be in this state of like degeneration all the time. So what we want to do is the acute stage of healing would be the rest, or maybe ice therapy, compression, elevation. And then moving on from that acute stage is where we do like the gentle physio initially, which is just movement or range of movement of the joint that is in question. And then we would then put in a program, in place a program which would then continue to move you to full function. So there's a lot of processes that would happen. So it would depend on where you're at on that journey specifically. And like we said, we do offer the one-to-one consultations, which is, you know, if it's a targeted area that you need help with, then it's, you know, really important that we have a consultation with you initially to find out.
And there is no set fee.
No.
You know, we don't have a set fee. We just ask if you can. You just no set. just a donation is fine. You know, to what you can afford or what you feel is right for you. So there's no pressure there. So yeah, just make sure you get your rest. Misha, ice, compression, elevation. Take your time. Obviously, running. You know, running is very bad for you.
But you know, the protocol. If you're out of that acute stage, then the range of motion is the most important part. Is getting full range of motion back without weight bearing first, and then we add the weight as a progressive. You know, a progressive part of your program.
Yeah. If there's anyone out there that's also, you know, looking to, you know, train or change their physique, I find it very interesting or lovely to be able to help and support you on your journey, no matter what your goal is. And I know Michelle's the very same. We just want you to reach your goals in the fastest way possible, which we've been blessed with having so much experience, just because we didn't really engage in any of the normal Western practices, very different, very separate from them. I tend to just be focused on, you know, bettering ourselves very young, and that was predominantly through, you know, physical exercise and experiences. Both of us are qualified personal trainers. Michelle's a sports rehabilitation specialist, and then we went and moved into the spiritual space. Understood the essentially all of physicality is makeup, and then transferred this into beyond physicality, understanding the nature of consciousness. So we're here for you. Do we have any more questions?
Kagan machines.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't got any personal experience with these Kangen water filters or water machines, so I can't really, or I wouldn't like to give any sort of advice too much on it because it's not really been in my own personal experience. I would love to know how your experience has been with it, or if anyone else has been using it. But for me, number one, water is always going to be distilled, just as the cloud should be and should do. Just removing any impurities and then just giving a small pinch of like Himalayan salt back into it tends to be the best and what we've always used.
And we use the minerals from seaweed. So we would have just one of the kombu cubes that we also have on the website of how we make them to help with the minerals.
Yeah, I think, you know, 150 gram, 200 gram bag of kombu, you just boil it in about 1 to 1.5 liters of water, very slow heat. After it's boiled, simmer it down for about an hour and a half, strain it, and then put it into ice cube once it's cooled. Literally just 1 ice cube a day is enough iodine to reverse any type of goiter, any type of thyroid deficiency, and also is something that is very necessary and vital for a perfect thyroid function, which is not found in our salt or higher contrast salt, which isn't iodized, which is because it's not just salt in those commercial salts. I would say absolutely necessary and vital because the matrix has done it for you. It's in predominantly all processed foods, and of course you buy this low sodium salt which is iodized because everyone 100 years ago was experiencing goiters and deficiencies with iodine, and it's still here today. So make sure you have that vital nutrient in your diet.
Keto.
Is that marshmallows? Keto. My take on keto, for short periods of time through whole foods or plant-based living, is great for healing, but it is not for longevity in any way, shape or form.
It's just not sustainable.
You will eventually, some people feel great because they start ketosis or they go into keto.
Yeah.
They've come off a Western diet, they're consuming maybe meat, and it's clean meat, it's the whole food, there's no process, they've eliminated all this, they're eating vegetables that are low in sugars. Of course, they're going to feel much better than they did on a standard Western diet, but it's only a matter of time before you start depleting yourself because your body runs on glucose, and there's theories out there because the brain's made of cholesterol. Every cell in your body is made from cholesterol, but they say you need fats to power the brain, but the brain's primary source of fuel is also glucose. So ketosis, great, depending on how you do it. There's different versions of it.
Definite benefit for a short period of time.
Yeah, you just get yourself into that autophagy or autophagy. It's just self-cleaning, and you basically are removing defunct cells, replenishing your body with them. I would always do this through fasting, really, for me. Sorry, Mr. We Are Souls or Mrs. We Are Souls. What is that called, please? I'm not sure what you're related to.
Ketosis? Keto diet?
Yeah, please. I'm not sure. I couldn't tell. What about natural sugar in fruit? We did touch this earlier on.
Yeah.
Natural sugar in fruit is what your body wants. It's nothing to do with normal sugar or what we perceive as sugar. It's a form of carbohydrate. It's a fuel for the body. Definitely no issues with fruit sugar. Unless it's been processed, concentrated, and then put in a bottle as sucrose, fructose.
So was it natural is it natural flavorings? Do they call them?
I think, it's very hard to say with the ingredients and how they use certain terminology nowadays to try and sneak things into food.
It's like a lot of them are called like natural flavorings. They're not natural.
Everything could be natural because everything's come from the earth, even plastic. So it's very
clever
difficult.
Wording.
Yeah, just the same as McDonald's did with their 100% beef brand, and they could call it 100% beef, but it still was not 100% beef. It was probably 100% not beef. So why are so many studies saying that fruit, especially fruit juices, give fatty liver? Because every single study has been done with high fructose corn syrup, and that causes fatty liver disease. Just take a look at the studies. You'll find that yourself. You'll find probably no studies on people eating fruit because everyone that eats fruit tends to align themselves with a healing protocol and then regenerates their body. What is our take on nutritional vitamin supplements in pill form? B vitamins, magnesium, zinc, amino acids, etc. I think, B vitamins, especially B12, is very essential. B vitamins or vitamin B12 is found in soil and it is only produced in soil. It's produced by a bacteria which feeds on cobalt and converts it. But we have deficient soils that don't contain any cobalt. So you're not really getting this essential nutrient. This essential nutrient regulates your nervous system and then down-regulates into pretty much every function in your body. So if you are on a whole food plant-based diet, because 99% of other foods are supplemented and fortified with these B vitamins.
The
for their very
animals are injected with it.
Apart from cows,
Oh,
cows are given instead of B12, they're actually given. I just said it. I lost the word now.
the cobalt.
Yeah, cobalt. I spoke to some farmers. I phoned up. I did my due diligence a long time ago, and the cows produce it in their rumen, which is in their stomach. So they use the cobalt to convert it. So they actually take cobalt as a supplement rather than B12. Every other animal product, they're all supplemented with B12 and many other things. So it's better to supplement yourself in the beginning stages.
Take out the middleman of the corporations doing it for you.
Yeah, and I mean, if you do have any concepts built up that you want to be totally natural, you have to go with your will, but through our own advice, don't let yourself become deficient. So continue to get blood tests.
Once you're deficient, it's very difficult to get you back to that baseline. And, it's usually from injections that you would have to get to back to that level where you could supplement with the pill form. So, like we said earlier, get checked, blood work, just to check your levels. If you are on the lower end, we would suggest definitely taking it if you're not having it through any food form, and release yourself or your being from all concepts that are putting you in a prison cell. For fear or anxiety or even that spiritual because it's like, oh, well, because I'm spiritual now, I can't do that. It's like your health at the end of the day, and we're not in a position where everyone can have their own soil and their own garden. So we work with what we've got to be healthy and well, and this creates a well body, mind and soul connection.
Sometimes out there we can focus on concepts that aren't in our experience, such as protocols like Joe Dispenza, where they really focus on mind, creating the manifestation. So you can focus everything, bringing you B12, but it's a dead end. It's not something that you should really try to. This is about creating an internal environment that's free and happy, liberated, in understanding the power of yourself. So healing the body through positivity, through letting go things that cause negativity, understanding that function within yourself. So by all means try it, but I definitely don't recommend it if you are deficient and you don't want to go deep into a very, very deficient state and possibly lose neurological functions. Then go for the supplements, definitely. But don't forget, you can study, you can learn about supplements yourself, and then there's a down regulation process, and only about 10% of multivitamins or all vitamins are absorbed into the body. So if you're looking to get out of a deficiency with tablets, forms, or oral supplementation, it's very, very difficult. And then you'll need injections that you might have to overcome that concept later on if you don't take such a thing. I hope that helps. Do we have any?
Does that helps?
Opinion towards hemp seeds. Yeah, I mean, I would say the holy hemp has so many uses, so many functions, and the hemp seed is probably one of the most complete foods on planet Earth.
Essential
deshelled.
Essential amino acids. Hemp seeds are a complete protein, so a great source of.
It just allows the body to take from them and reconfigure any slight deficiencies that may be had from amino acids you might not be getting from your normal food. So yeah, I would say consume them, take them or get them shelled, which is going to make them more bioavailable for yourself. But don't limit yourself. Again, just go through your own experience, see how you feel with them. You don't need a lot of them.
No.
You can make hemp milk, keep the hemp seeds in there.
Hemp milk's really good.
Yeah. What's the best video for first-time people looking? One of our therapists intrigued by his diet and his fresh daily juice. He's expecting his first child soon and asked for information. I want to refer him to you. then please do. Feel free to pass on the details you have from me, and I will await his call. I hear the injections have arsenic in. I hope I can fix it with good oral quality. I would say that anything that you find within these injections, let's say the B12, there's many different types. I'm presuming you're talking about B12. There's hydroxy, there's methyl. And because you said arsenic, the amount of arsenic in the B12 injections, I don't feel like it's arsenic. I feel like it's another compound, but this is kind of put me off. Is actually you have a recommended daily allowance of, let's say, arsenic, just because you've used it. And what's in an injection is like 1/50th of what your recommended daily allowance is of arsenic, let's say. I'll find out what it is right now.
There was another one, wasn't
No, it's cyanide.
Cyanide, yeah.
It's cyanide, not arsenic. So yeah, it's the cyanide. And you do have a recommended daily allowance. It's naturally occurring element in the soil, and it is very, very, very under the daily allowance that your body can induce. So do not fear. That's just more hearsay than truth that's been spread amongst the communities of truth. So do your own due diligence, and you'll find that that is the case as well. I take B12 drops every day. Is that good? It's better than not. Just look at the ingredients. You know, sometimes they have sugars and things like this inside them. And for us, it's not something that we choose to consume. So, you know, if you're in the UK, there's a great brand called British Supplements. They have clean everything. They don't put any fillers, any bulkers in them. But I'm sure wherever you are in the world, there will be a very similar company. And I hope that helps, Sebastian, with your, I know you changed it to cyanide.
Yeah.
I hope that helps. And I hope everyone is beautiful, is happy, and has been enjoying life, recognizing the power of the moment and surrendering all these thoughts that cause friction and suffering, because there's no need. It is all your choice. You know, together we are definitely stronger. Together, if we work together in the future, there's going to be this wonderful space opening up for us. And continue to elevate yourself, because this is the only thing that you can do. Let go of the desire to control others, to control the external, to change the world, because it is when you change yourself, the world will change with you.
Apply your own truth.
The world does not need to change. It is you who needs to change. And having an idea that the world needs to change is actually saying to the creative force that it is wrong and something needs to be different. And who are we personally or as persons to say that something which is created and has been created by the creator himself, itself, is wrong? We have to learn that everyone on this experience or in this experience is at a different level of evolution than yourself. This multi-dimensional plane has so many opportunities to expand, to contract, to fall into, to jump out of. And all of these things are concepts. So I'll leave it on this wonderful note is let go. Find yourself. There's happiness there. All desires can diminish because everything is perfect. Quickly, guys, I've seen a lot of studies that use juice, fruit, cold pressed without additives can harm the liver. I do not believe it. I have never seen such a study. Please send them to me. I'm very interested. But through my own experience, I mean, for me, I put my faith in the fruit and whole foods, and I will continue to do so. I do not perceive any type of food that is whole food to be negative for me, because it is that perception from the mind which will create the negativity when I consume the food itself. I am grateful. I have gratitude for every meal I consume, and I appreciate it with great love, and I bless it.
Your intentions will feed into the water that is in the fruit. So just be pure and loving around all that you consume, and it will give back to you that same.
Or what about the fruit juice without fiber causing problems because sugar enters too fast because there's no fiber? Oranges probably have very, very low fiber. We're removing the fiber because fiber is essentially just poo. We don't need to do this consistently. It's not something you would live off. People fast for days, for years, for months.
Like we spoke of with the resting of the digestive system, if we need some sort of healing in some area, then when we rest the digestive system, the blood no longer has to rush to the digestion, and it therefore has time and energy to spend on the healing aspect of other areas. So it would be a protocol for healing, for regeneration, and what we do is sometimes the cross-quarter days of the few days of fasting on the equinox and the solstice, and those kind of days would be for fasting, and that would be it, unless you have some healing that needs to happen.
So just see it as essentially eliminating digestive processes, absorbing all the vitamins, the fuel that you need, keeping the body functioning, but distilling the stomach. Not for longevity of consumption, but for longevity of the body. Especially for someone like me who's looking to continue to grow or to keep the muscle tissue while I'm eliminating the matter or the food. It's great to keep these high sugar foods into me so I can fuel my body. You store so much glycogen in the muscles and in the liver, but it's used also quickly when you're doing sport, you're doing any sort of physical exercises. So just spend time looking. Maybe you could look at how much how much glycogen can be stored in muscle, how much glycogen can be stored in the liver, and then see how quickly it goes with intense exercise.
It's the primary source of fuel. So you will always, your body will go to it initially first because it takes a lot more energy to burn the fat. So when the glucose is run out, usually 15 to 20 minutes after exercise, pretty vigorous exercise, and we start to convert onto the other sources of fuel, the fat. So if you look into the carbohydrates and how, like Josh said, it's stored and how we generate that through exercise, then it will give you a bigger understanding of how the body is processing it.
And then you think about what are your other sources of fuel for food, for yourself, not for me, for you. If you're consuming meat, okay, my body uses glucose, sugar as a fuel when there's no glucose, sugar within this. So how am I going to get fuel from this? My body has to break these already fixed proteins with a sequence of amino acids, break them down, then resequence them when I could just have the amino acids to sequence from living foods, let's say. But I'm not saying that you shouldn't do what you're doing. You shouldn't eat meat. You shouldn't do these things. I'm not here to judge. You should experience what you need to experience at any given time and experience other things when you question them consciously, just to know what they're like, because you're never going to know if you hold a belief. And it's only through actions do you then turn beliefs into knowing. Then you get liberated from the thoughts, the thought demons, or these questions that will never be answered unless you've experienced it yourself. Thank you all so much for being here with us tonight.
So lovely to be with you all.
Bless you all. Thanks for all your questions. They've been incredible tonight. They kept us busy. We went off the topic, what we came to speak about, but I enjoyed it very, very much. I have so much gratitude for everyone here, for this wonderful divine experience. And thank you for this connection that we have over this wonderful Ethernet, that we get to share this space with you every fortnight. I wish you all the best, all the happiness and all the joy. Continue to be that which you truly are by nature, and may joy, love, peace, abundance be yours and given to you, which is the divine right of you.
Infinite love.
Take care, everyone. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful evening, a beautiful day, and a beautiful storm. Bye-bye.